Good morning. So, today, life is hard. There's a couple reasons why this came up. One of them is I was talking to my brother-in-law the other day, who's kind of going through some hard stuff. I found out some information this morning that was a little hard to hear from a mutual source or a neutral source or something like that. I don't know. Just like it, found it out scrolling through stuff, and it was not fun to figure that out that way. And so I decided to kind of talk about the general gist of life is hard. And the reason is because we all kind of say it and we all acknowledge it and we all understand that life is hard, but we don't usually talk about it a lot. We just take it as a given. Life is hard. Move on. Let it go. And in a lot of times, we're expected to kind of deal with the hands that we're dealt on our own, in private, without the help of others. And I find that really frustrating. So, as I've mentioned before, what I went through with losing my last job, what I went through, through high school and things like that, I really could have used a lot of kind listening ears. I didn't expect anybody to solve my problem for me. I didn't expect anybody else to fix stuff. I just wanted to be heard and validated. And I feel like a lot of us feel that way sometimes when we lose jobs, when we lose friends, when hard things happen in our lives. And there's only a handful of those times where people just sit and listen. And sometimes it's during a breakup. If you have good friends, they'll sit around you and everybody just wants to trash talk. But what happens a couple weeks later when that moment has passed and people just assume that you're over it? And whether you are or not, you just feel the need to make everyone else believe that you are. And it doesn't always work out that way. When I broke up with my ex, I hurt really bad for about 3 days, and everybody knew it. And then there was about a week of just kind of getting back to normal stuff. And then a couple months later after that, he ended up messaging me kind of like wanting to get back together, like things were hard for him and he kind of missed me and all of this stuff. And I had to make the hard decision not to do that. And yes, everything else turned out fine in the end, obviously, but that was hard. And part of me felt like I shouldn't talk about it, or that I wasn't supposed to talk to anybody about it, or I was supposed to figure out how to deal with it by myself. And that's not easy, because you have to process your emotions somewhere. Yes, some people like to go and think by themselves, but other people don't. And sometimes it helps to get somebody else's perspective, because if somebody else came to me with that problem and said, I'm not sure what to do, I can share my experience with them, and it might help. It might not, but it might help, or at least give them an idea of what somebody else did. And it might help them make a better decision, or it might help them not make a mistake that they might feel like they're doing. And sometimes it just helps to feel validated that what happened to you wasn't fair, or at least it didn't feel fair to you. And all of these things that we go through in life, there's all of hundreds of different instances of times that we want to talk to people, and we don't always make it easy. And I know that's something that I've always tried to work on, because that's something that I've always wanted, so I want to make sure I'm that to everyone else. But it's still not easy. I bet you I could ask any of my friends, hey, show them this video and say, would you have been there for me? And they would have all said yes. But asking for help is hard. And I could say the same thing to them, and they might even be going through something when I say it, and that doesn't mean that they're going to share it. I think that's because of the stigma that we have to deal with our own problems on our own. And if that were really true, we wouldn't have friends or family or all of these people that we surround ourselves with, because we wouldn't need them. part of having friends and family is to be able to lean on them in the good times, like celebrating a wedding or the birth of a child, or, you know, getting something accomplished together. But it's also for leaning on during the hard times, the loss of somebody that was important to you, the loss of a job, the loss of a home sometimes. All of these things are just as significant and require people to be there for you. Sometimes it's just telling them that you're here and just sitting there in their silence to help them process it. Sometimes it's talking it through with them or letting them just vent, because that has a lot of positive benefits too. Other times it's helping them learn to like themselves again, because we go through all of these things in life, like getting picked on in school or getting knocked down by other people, that sometimes you just need to be reminded all of the good things about yourself. That was something that I had to go through with my brother-in-law the other day. Is he's going through kind of a hard time, and we had to work together to make him a list of things to remember, and it forced me to think about my list. And it's just a list of things that, reasons to continue to love yourself and to just continue to improve on yourself. So like things that you're good at, things that you like, whether it's a physical attribute, whether it's an ability or a talent, a skill, things that you've picked up, accomplishments that you've had, the things that help you to continue on, to continue trying, because you are worth it. And it is so much easier to do these kinds of lists when you have friends and family that you can say, you know what, I think, I don't know, I'm creative. But that's all I can put on my list. And then you have all of this family that will shout at you, oh no, but you're this too. Or my husband would be the first person to put on the list, you like cooking and it is amazing, because he just wants me to keep cooking for him. But all of these people that care about you will continue to help put things on your list to build you back up. And after a breakup, that's really important, because it can be really easy to feel like you aren't worth it because your relationship didn't work out. Or maybe it didn't work out and they said some really mean things and you need to build back up that confidence that they took away. Or if you lost a job and they said some really bad things about you, you need somebody else who can say, no, I've seen you work. You're really good at this. You're really good at that. Maybe it just wasn't a right fit. And all of these things that they can tell you to help build you back up to get back out there. And I know I've been working on that with myself, and it helps to have people who care about me, who help me through it. But the hardest part about it, sometimes when I really think about it, wasn't building back up. It was having that group of people around me and just finally asking for help, asking or talking or just doing something that would let them know, hey, I'm not okay and I need your help to be okay. Because it feels like a weakness. It feels like I should have been able to deal with it on my own. But I couldn't. And sometimes it feels like a broken record to talk about things like, my last breakup was really hard, and it could have been months afterwards, and just still feel like you need to talk about it, and it feels like you should have been over it, but you're not. Or that job that you lost, that it's been months and everyone else seems to be over it, but you still feel sometimes that feeling of not being able to get over it. And sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. When it comes up again, when new information arises and it hurts you again, maybe it's not as bad as it was in the beginning, but it still hurt. And we need to learn to be okay, and we also need to learn to be those friends who can ask, how are you doing? What's going on? What's new? You don't have to just tell me the good things. Tell me the bad things. Tell me the things you need help on. Tell me the things that are stressing you out. Tell me if you want me to help you fix it. Tell me if you just want me to listen. Offer more than just, how are you doing? Because it feels sometimes, we say it in passing all the time. When I walk into work, I have people that are like, hey, how are you? And your response is just, I'm good. And you? And they go, good. And you move on with your day. That's not what we should be for our friends. And you see your friends, it shouldn't be that simple. It should always be, hey, what's going on? How's life treating you? You got any struggles that you want to talk about? You got any successes that we need to celebrate? Like, you need to talk about everything because it helps you become stronger and better, because they might not want to tell you about the things that they're struggling with because that's hard, because you don't want to, lose face trying to be vulnerable. And that might just be what they need. Hey, how are you doing? Is everything good? Are you having... Yeah, you know what? I've been having a really hard time. Really? Tell me about it. Can I help? Do you want to just talk about it? Sometimes that helps. And then let them just lay it all out, just so that they can get it out in the air and feel like somebody is listening and somebody cares. This is the reason why things like the suicide hotline exist. Because sometimes you just need to talk to somebody and tell them how much it hurts, how much you're going through, how it feels to be so low, and just have somebody listen. Sometimes they say good words to you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you just want somebody in the world to care about you, even if just for a phone call. These things exist because that's sometimes what we need sometimes. And it's happened before where somebody will tell me that they resorted to calling, or they went so far as to talk to a stranger on a bench or something. And it hurts a little bit as a friend, as a family member, as whatever, to feel like you weren't there. And no, it's not all about you when this is happening, it's about them. But it makes you realize that sometimes you need to work on being better for them, for being better for everyone, so that maybe if that ever happens again, or that happens to somebody else, they don't have to turn to a stranger. They can turn to you. And I get that it feels like a given a lot of the times. Like, when you have a friend, I just assume that all of my friends and family know that if they ever need me, I'm available. But I can think of a lot of times where they did need me, but they didn't ask, or they didn't call. But I had the opportunity to call them. I had the opportunity to ask them how they were doing, or if they wanted my help. And yeah, sometimes we give way to, well, I was just tired that day, or I was doing my own stuff, or I'm in the middle of my own problem. How am I supposed to help somebody else? But that's the thing. Even if you are, maybe helping them helps you. Or maybe you guys can both talk to each other like, hey, this thing that happened, it really sucks. And they're like, yeah, I'm going through something similar. It really sucks too. Tell me about your story and I'll tell you about mine. And you both at least feel like you're not the only one. That you're not the only person who's ever felt this way. That you're not the only person who's ever been dealt a terrible hand. And then maybe it gets better. And maybe next time it happens, you won't have to worry about them not reaching out, because they already know that they can. And you can reach out to them too. So, life is hard. Things happen. The unexpected, financially, emotionally, situationally, whatever. Things happen, and it's hard. What we need to work on is making it easier for each other, for ourselves, by asking for help, or being the help, offering help even when it seems like they probably won't need it. Because you don't know. They might. Thanks for listening.